respect that you're a whole, unique person. Let's talk about that one a little bit.
So again, like I talked about with, basically this is the anti one-size-fits-all thing. So most agendas for advice for health and fitness are one size fits all. Like, this is the plan. This should work for everybody. Go do this. If you fail, it's because you didn't follow the plan, or you can't live up to it, or you don't have enough discipline, or you don't have enough willpower. And that's really not the case. And it's especially not the case with food, because we know that people have sensitivities to certain foods, and those sensitivities can cause a roadblock for fat loss and for energy levels and for getting rid of brain fog and so on and so forth. So it's embracing the fact that we are all individuals, that we should not be trying to fit ourselves into one-size-fits-all plans, that we should learn about our individual bodies. And I tell people, don't become an expert on health and fitness. Become an expert on you. Like, you don't need to know what is good for everybody else. You just need to know what works for you. And if your friend comes and tells you that this new great thing is working for them, that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. It doesn't matter what they're doing. Focus on you and embrace those things that do work for you, and know what doesn't work for you, and get those things out of the process.
Yeah, that's really, I totally agree with that. And I think that, I get locked into this thing, which we've talked about before, where basically this whole culture was built around one guy's stories about what worked for him, with coffee and weird shit from NASA. And, then that was the way that it pretty much had to be. One of the things that I talked to you about before, Kevin, and I've talked about elsewhere, is craving simplicity. Like, when I started working out, I was 21 or 22 years old, and I was reading, what's the Weider magazine? Not Muscle and Fitness, the other one. There's like an even more intense one. Flex. Flex magazine, and Muscle and Fitness, and reading about diet and reading about workout routines and getting lost in the complexity. And that was one of the appeals of low carb for me when it came to diet. Diet had been the thing that I had never really gotten right until I started working out in like the late 90s. In 2010 I was still eating like shit. I just failed to incorporate that into the fitness equation. So when I discovered low carb, the appeal was this simplicity. Right. Yeah. So when you find somebody else and they say, don't worry, I've done all the research, just do these things. The Bulletproof infographic, I still think, is a great thing to look at as far as like meal planning is concerned. But none of that was developed with me in mind at all, which is a unique body and a unique psychology.
Right.
So I think that's a really important one. And I think it also leads to a lot of frustration for people when they don't get certain results, because it becomes, what's wrong with me if this whole culture has been built around this working.
Well, and that's what fitness trainers and the whole fitness industry has told people, is that if you fail, it's because you didn't follow our plan. Like, we gave you the instruction manual. You must have cheated. You must be you must have eaten bad foods. You must have done this and done that. Something happened that is not our fault, right? That's what they want you to know. Like, It's not our fault.
Exactly. All right. So, sleep. Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with sleep, Kevin?
Yeah. So my relationship with sleep is that I've made it a top priority in my life. Obviously, I think everybody should. In terms of how important it is, I would say it's a giant chunk of this puzzle, but people tend to see it as a very, very small thing. And I think that's because of our focus especially in the US, on maximizing productivity and getting every ounce and every minute out of our day, right? So we have people staying up very late at night. They don't want to go to bed. They're still working on projects. They have deadlines. They're watching sitcoms and all this other stuff. So their sleep is, maybe they're getting the quantity they need, but they're doing things throughout the day that's disrupting the quality, or they're just not getting the quantity at all. People are thinking, oh, I can get by on 6 hours of sleep. I can get by on 7 hours of sleep. And they really don't realize how much it's messing them up. Like, they say they have pretty good energy levels and, they feel good, but really when they get things dialed in, they never realize how good they could have felt this entire time.
Yeah. I hope to learn that one day. I have been, in an effort to live more consciously when it comes to this whole health picture, been tracking my sleep. and I just want to share with you guys the last week.
Yeah.
Last night, 6.5 hours. The night before, 7.6 hours. The night before, 5.7 hours. The night before, 6.1 hours. Before that, 6.5. The night before that, 7.4. The night before that, 5.5. So that's my last. And it keeps track of your deficit, like how much sleep debt you're in.
Yeah.
So that adds up to several hours over the course of 1 week. The issue for me, I've been making an effort to go to bed earlier. And that's still pretty late. It's still usually after midnight. But when I wake up, I get up. My mind starts going. I start thinking about the things I want to do. Honestly, I start thinking about coffee. And I want to get out of bed. And there have been times where I've really just bundled up and fallen back asleep. Like if I wake up at an absurd time, like 6:30 after going to bed at 1:30, yeah. I will find a way to get back to sleep. But usually when I'm up, I'm up. And the bed is very comfortable. The room is now even darker than I've gone through 3 phases of darkening, and I think I'm at the darkest phase.
Okay.
Darkest before the dawn. So hopefully this will work out.
So what are you getting when you are asleep? How's the quality?
I never wake up when I'm sleeping.
Okay. And what time about on average are you waking up?
That's a great question, and I have that information. On average, for the last week, it was about 8 o'clock. I'm averaging them in my head. It was about 8 o'clock.
And what time are you going to bed?
The average looks like it's about 1:30.
Okay. And obviously, you feel the effects of this, right?
It's hard to say. I mean, I'm paying more attention to my sleep than I ever have before. So, if I slept for 4 hours, 7 nights in a row, I would know what that feels like. And hopefully if I slept for like 8.5 hours for 7 nights in a row, I would know what that feels like. And I could see the difference between the median, which is where I am, that situation in the median, which is where I am right now. So, yeah, I mean, I actually did this workout last week where I asked people, I slept so little. This was not on the tracking list that I gave. I had slept so little the night before that I made a couple phone calls to ask if it would be safe to go to the gym. I slept 3.5 hours. Did one of the best workouts I can remember doing. And it's memorable because I was worried about the amount of sleep I had. All my numbers, which I keep track of in a little book, went up more than I thought they could. And I felt really energized after the workout. So is that an anomaly? Is that an anecdote? Yeah, I think it is. Obviously, 3.5 hours of sleep is not the magic number for an active person like myself.
And it's, what is your body doing to, what kind of hormones is your body producing in order to, in larger quantities, to keep you going,
to compensate, yeah,
and
sure.
Did those hormones impact the workouts that you're doing? Like, did it give you more energy than you traditionally would have had, and so on and so forth? And the answer could be yes, right? But then the next question is, what is the long-term impact of that? Can your body continue to do that? Because all these problems are cumulative. Like, it's not, I got 3.5 hours of sleep and did a workout, and then next day my body shut down. It's like I got 3.5 hours of sleep. I did a great workout. I felt fine the next day. But somebody that continues that pattern suddenly crashes after a while because the body just can't keep up with that. So it's people always think that is the bad thing going to happen to me tomorrow? No, the bad thing's going to happen to you in 10 years and 15 years from now. Like, the body is very good at adapting. The body is very strong. So it's going to put up with those conditions for a very long time. And then one day you have an issue.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've had, we talked about stacking stressors and crashing out, and I've had experience with both of those things. And it's obviously multifaceted, what the stressors are. They seem to, from my experience, have eventually a cumulative effect, whether it's physically or emotionally or even mentally, like how well my brain can function. So, and that was kind of the reason why I brought it up. It certainly wasn't to say, 3.5 hours, did a great workout. I mean, that sounds like something Dave Asprey would say. You know, what would be the long-term cost of that? I didn't have a vocabulary to answer that question, but you just helped with that, so that was why I asked. Osborne, your relationship with sleep.
So I'm about 6 weeks now off of caffeine. So before that, I was very much a stay up until 3 or 4 in the morning, sleep till noon kind of schedule. But over the last 6 weeks, I've turned into much more going to bed before 10, waking up at like 6, which is kind of, like I said, mess with my food schedule. So now I'm hungry in the morning. Also, now I'm tired in the middle of the day. Like right now, I feel like I could use a nap.
Mm-hmm. So you may have some cortisol, like dysregulation going on. And it could be, your body takes time to adjust. How long did you say that you stopped caffeine? Has it been
6 weeks?
Okay. So yeah, you're still probably in the midst of like recalibrating. But would you say that the quality is there?
I think so, for the most part. I've also got this other thing where now I'm waking up once or twice in the middle of the night to go use the restroom.
Yeah.
So that I'm finding disruptive. But.
Okay. And when your energy crashes in the middle of the day, how long does it take to come back? Like, when do you notice that you're not really in that slump anymore?
Yeah, I think like if I get up and move around a bit, it kind of re-energizes.
Okay.
I guess.
How do you feel when you get up? Like right when you wake up, get out of bed, how are your energy levels at that point?
Depends on how I get up, right? So if I'm in a scheduling situation where I have to set the alarm, that is not pleasurable whatsoever.
Yeah.
Or if the kids wake me up, or but if I just wake up on my own, it's great, right?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good sign. And I tell people, like, as much as possible. I know it's they actually make alarm apps now that, I don't know if your app does this, Brett, but it tracks where you are in the sleep cycle. And let's say you set your alarm for 6 a.m., it may wake you up at 5:45 a.m. because that's the optimum point of the sleep cycle to wake up. So if you actually let the alarm go till 6, it wakes you up in the wrong part of the sleep cycle. Therefore, you have a really hard time getting out of bed and you feel lethargic and so on.
Yeah, it has a smart alarm, it's called, and it ranges like a half hour. So, and it's tracking movement. Mm-hmm. Now, movement, that chart is scary.
Are you using sleep time?
It's called Sleepbot.
Sleepbot.
Because the movement, I'm doing something in this bed. Now, but I never wake up.
Right.
Oh, no, not movement.
Or you don't remember waking up.
Yeah, it's not movement, it's noise.
Okay. So the one I use, you set it on your mattress, and it uses
that's what
the
I do.
accelerometer in the phone to measure the vibrations in your mattress.
Right. Okay. I think that's what I'm getting to. It is allergy season. I've been really congested. I've had a lot of issues with that. So I would guess I'm probably snoring and mouth breathing more than usual, which is creating some significant spikes in noise.
Okay.
But other than that, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to continue to tweak things until, which is definitely probably going to mean an earlier bedtime. And, I know that other parts of this will help with sleep, like incorporating more movement into the day, which I can certainly still plenty of room for improvement there, and getting to bed earlier. And I'm telling you, keeping these rooms dark, that is a huge part of it.
Do you put a mask over your eyes?
I don't. But listen, I go to bed in a position. I go to bed in a position. I wake up in a completely different situation, and I say, "How did this happen? What am I doing? Is someone coming in and moving me in the night?" And I know that if I went to bed with a mask over my eyes, I would wake up with it around my ankles. So that's just me. And I've tried to do that before, especially being in a bed with somebody else and trying to be conscious of. Especially a smaller person, not wanting to roll over on them and crush them, So I put thought into this for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say I have the same personality as you. Like when I wake up, I want to get right to work.
Exactly.
I'm very motivated first thing in the morning. So what I've learned to do is getting that average wake time, because I know like I'm not going to just roll over and fall back asleep. So I have to go 8 hours from that average wake time. So that means for me going to bed earlier than I would like to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know that's the big thing that has to change. And the end of the day is never productive. But what does happen, Kevin, is I'm in front of these computers and this phone, and I even installed Flux on the phone, so it was changing, the light settings.
Yeah.
But I know that that's not how you wind down at the end of the day. You've
Right.
got to find a way to put those, or I've got to find a way to put those devices away. So I'm working on that as well.
Yeah. And just to let people know, the reason why this is so important, especially going to hormone regulation, they've done numerous studies now that less than 6 hours of sleep per night, multiple nights in a row, I think it's 2 or 3 nights in a row, basically makes you function metabolically like a type 2 diabetic. And takes a while to recover. So your tolerance for carbohydrate intake, for example, is going to be severely depleted. Like insulin sensitivity is just completely deranged when you're getting that. And it's not just the hours, the quantity. If the quality is only amassing to 6 hours or less, then you're going to have that issue as well. They've done some other studies with ghrelin production and leptin production. So ghrelin is the appetite stimulant hormone, and leptin is the appetite suppressant hormone. And poor sleep multiple nights in a row is going to, I think it was leptin that was 20% decreased, and then ghrelin was 30% increased. Those are just rough numbers. So basically, if you're getting poor sleep a couple nights in a row, you're going to be 30% hungrier than you normally would. So people wonder where these cravings come from. If you're getting in a cycle of poor sleep, that's exactly where they're coming from. And then your ability to feel sated, your ability to feel full is going to be decreased by about 20%. So that's not a good combination when you're talking about aligning behaviors with your good intentions as far as eating goes.
Absolutely.